I have received delivery of this Sonos Arc Wall Mount, which is made by Sonos and designed for the Sonos Arc specifically. Today, we shall look at how this affects the sound output from the Sonos Arc when mounted on the wall with the Sonos Arc Wall Mount kit. So like I usually do, I give my answer upfront in the video, so you don't have time to stay around for the whole video. You can just take the answer and stop watching the video right away. If you like the way I do things, do consider leaving a like for the video so that I know that this is your preferred method. And if you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing, where I will do deep dives into wireless audio products, especially the Sonos ecosystem. So when you buy the Sonos Arc Wall Mount and use it with the Sonos Arc, what it does is that it reduces the bass output. So what Sonos writes on the website is that it smartly detects the presence of a Sonos Arc Wall Mount kit and it adjusts its EQ so as to reduce and temper the bass resonance that is coming from the wall. Now, I've done a video on that before. If you're interested, do look it up. The exact way it changes the sound from the Sonos Arc is that between 70 Hz and 500 Hz, it actually pulls down the bass response by quite a bit, actually 6 or 7 decibels. From about 1 kilohertz to 7 kilohertz, it also pulls it down slightly. So you might be wondering, why do you need this for? Why would you change the sound profile? Why would you reduce the sound output from the Sonos Arc with this? So if you have some time, do stay on and we can discuss this topic in detail. Now let's talk a little bit about this wall mount kit on its own. This is a great product. It's made of steel, very high tensile steel. It flexes, but it springs back to its original shape quite readily. The kit comes with 4 wall plugs where you will then mount this to your wall at 4 different locations. They're all slotted, so even after you've drilled the holes in the wall and it's not that straight, you can still adjust it slightly. And then there are 2 more screws which will screw on to the back of the Sonos Arc here. You might not be able to see, it's black, maybe this angle. So these 2 knobs will then be able to slide in to these 2 slots here after you have mounted it on the wall. So in terms of the mechanical engineering and production of this, it's very nice. There are no rough edges, there are no spurs or burrs on the edges of this piece of metal here. The 2 sides, both front and back, are coated, or rather there's a pretty thick layer, maybe about 2 or 2.5, 3 mm of rubberized material, very, very hard rubber. So it's rubber, it's like one of those cutting mats that you use. So it prevents scratches on your wall and it also prevents scratches to your Sonos Arc itself. And the other way of looking at it is that this actually provides some damping. So your Sonos Arc won't be rattling against this metal piece and it won't be rattling against the wall. It provides some kind of damping there. So I've also mentioned, because all these are slotted holes where you drill into the wall, where you mount to the wall, it is actually easy to level this kit. And if you look at this profile here, there is an arc right in the middle. If you mount it, right, wrong way, if you mount it, right, this part that goes against the wall, you'll see that there's a gap here. So your cables can run through it, and even if you are using some relatively thick HDMI cables, it will still route through. Now the thing that you have to take note is that while the cables can fit through, the head of the cables won't. So when you mount it, you won't be able to slot it in anymore. So make sure before you secure this and fasten this to the wall, have the cables behind before you start mounting it. It won't come out after, right? Now what that means is if you want to move your Arc for any reason, you have to unmount this to remove the HDMI cable, or even if you have a spare one, the power cable cannot be removed without removing the wall mount. And when you mount this to the wall, if you look at the profile, it's actually very thin. It is no more than an 1.5 inches, maybe about 40 millimeters, 4 centimeters high. When it goes behind the Sonos Arc, if you look at this, it's going to be completely hidden out of sight. So this is the back view. Oh gosh, this is heavy. This is the back view, and the view from the front, you will not be able to see the wall mount at all. So this is how it goes. That's heavy. See? So from that angle, you will not be able to see the wall mount at all. Very clean installation. And if that's your kind of thing, very nice. There's also a magnet in this. Actually, it should be somewhere here. Now, this is how I managed to find where the magnet is. I'm going to use this Apple Watch. This is a stainless steel strap. So there's a magnet here that allows it to attach. So you know that this is magnetic in nature, or rather it attracts magnet. So I ran it through and up, it catches here. So I think you can see it here. It catches right here. So this is the point where the magnet is. And if I mount it to the wall, it's facing the arc to the right side. If I were to move this back again, let me try to move this back again and determine exactly where it goes. Okay, so from the back of it, so facing the Sonos Arc, this should be on your right side, and the magnet is here. When the Arc senses the magnet, what it will do is it will kick in the EQ and reduce the bass output. Actually, not just the bass output, probably at a couple of ranges, as I have earlier shared with you. There are two screw holes at the back of your Sonos Arc, and this is where you screw in the knobs to use for the Sonos wall mount. It doesn't come with the Arc, it comes with the wall mount kit itself. Now, from there, if you look at the top, there are some slots. I don't think you can see it in the video, but there are some slots. If you count the slots, it should be about, not counting the slot above the screw hole, 1, 2, 3, 4. About 4 slots. So what I did before is I didn't want to spend on this wall mount kit because I don't want to wall mount my Sonos Arc. I need to move it around quite a bit. So I tried to activate the EQ, okay, to evaluate what this wall mount kit does for the Sonos Arc. And I ran a strong magnet around here, and nothing I did could activate this. So there is some magic inside this thing, or rather we don't know how much it takes to activate the EQ on the Sonos Arc. But with the wall mount kit, when you slot it on, the sound changes immediately. So I had to spend on this so that I can do this video. This cost $79 US. In Singapore, it costs about $120. So in order to find out how this works, I did a couple of tests. The first test that I did was to actually let the Sonos Arc stand free, right, away from the rear wall. And I've done a video on that before. I think it's just, I'll link it up here so you can take a look at what difference it makes when you put the Sonos Arc freestanding position and when you push it against the wall. So to baseline the whole test again today, I'm just putting it here, right? Free from the rear wall. Now, a lot of us will be deploying the Sonos Arc in that way. If you have a TV console, you just put it in front of the TV console and that's it. But if you wanted more bass output, you push it all the way flush to the rear wall, and I did my second test in this manner. The third test that I did was to put this wall mount kit at the rear of the Sonos Arc to activate the EQ that will change the sound profile. I'm going to run through the frequency response curve so that you can take a look for yourself. The green curve that you see right up here, this is when the Sonos Arc is in the freestanding position. You realize that, okay, this is how it looks. There is a slight bump at the base level, but when you move this Sonos Arc right up against the rear wall, you will see this chart here. The blue curve indicates the frequency response of the Arc when it is placed in this position right against the rear wall. So if you look at this, the comparison between that with the green curve, you will realize that the bass output is actually increased substantially when you mount it right against the wall. Now this is still without the Sonos Arc Wall Mount kit. So the next thing I did was then to mount this Sonos Wall Mount kit at the back of this in the same exact position, and I measured the frequency response again. So look at the chart, the red curve is actually the frequency response of the Sonos Arc when it's mounted with this guy. So as I've mentioned in my earlier upfront summary, it actually brings down the bass response from about 70 Hz all the way to 500 Hz. Now this is pretty significant. Now 70 Hz to 110 Hz, 120 Hz, that's the mid bass range. So the mid bass would then be reduced. In my earlier video comparing how the Sonos Arc behaves when it's away from the wall and against the wall, I mentioned that when you are near the wall, you want to cut down the resonance because the wall actually acts as reinforcement for your sound. But it's not that bad because the distance difference between the direct sound and the reflected sound is actually quite small. So what it does is that it combines together, it doesn't cancel each other, or it combines together to give a much higher output. And from the low hundreds to up to maybe about 500 hertz, that impacts the human voice. Now, human voice, when you try to lower the volume, so it comes across as the speech being lower volume. If that is what you're looking for, then sure, by all means, but a lot of viewers out there, I know you are trying to actually raise the voice output so they can hear the dialogue better. And if you're after that effect, then I don't think the Sonos Arc Wall Mount is going to help you achieve that. The other response range that is being affected is the 1 kHz to 7 kHz. Now, if you look at that bass response, that is probably a lot of high frequencies energy are being heard there. Anything above 11, 12, 13,000 hertz, you may not be able to pick it up readily, but the high frequency from 1 kHz to 7 kHz, that is actually a lot of energy there, and you can feel and hear it quite readily. Now that is being brought down as well, as you can see from the rate curve. When that happens, coupled with the 70 Hz to the 500 Hz, it brings down the entire volume level of your Sonos Arc significantly. Why Sonos does that is that it thinks that being mounted on the wall changes the sound. It changes the sound to something that the Sonos sound engineers think that it is not the correct sound. But who's to judge? I mean, do you think that their ears are the best ears? Well, maybe. So if you believe that the sound that when it's mounted without the wall mount kit is too heavy and too strong for you, then by all means, use the wall mount kit. But if you think that you want the effect of the wall reinforcing the bass of your Sonos Arc, then don't use this kit. We'll go through an alternative later on in the video. What they are trying to achieve is automatically having the Arc cut down on the output levels so as to reduce the resonance from the wall. But isn't that something that TruePlay is supposed to do? If your Sonos Arc is mounted on the wall or very near a wall and you perform TruePlay, and TruePlay hears that, hey, the bass is a little bit high, this level is a little bit high, this frequency range is a little bit too high, so TruePlay is supposed to bring it down. Why do you need a Sonos Arc Wall Mount kit to tell this guy automatically, and it's not even a setting that you can change, it will bring down the levels? Why do you need this then? Shouldn't TruePlay do the job? I don't know. So having said that, I'm just wondering, is there a use case for this guy? Well, if you want things to look pretty and you want a clean tabletop, clean countertop, or whatever console that you have, then, by all means, wall mount it. It is invisible, literally invisible from the front or even a little bit from the top or the bottom when you mount it on the wall, because this is such a low profile wall mount. The cables can go in. It's a neat solution. It is very nice. Holds your Sonos Arc very securely. It's not going to run anywhere. It's not going to get knocked off. So besides the wall mounting, I don't see why anybody would buy this for that special feature of reducing your volume, reducing your output at various frequency levels, just so that it sounds better. I don't think it's going to sound better. But you can judge it for yourself. Later on in the video, towards the end, I will actually record two clips. One of a clip without the wall mount kit and the other with the wall mount kit. I think the differences are slight, but it is there. Listen carefully with a pair of headphones and you can hear for yourself. Now I'm going to talk about an alternative. This kit costs $79. That's almost $80. In Singapore, it's $100 over, $120 to be more precise. And it is not cheap. It's a very nicely made piece of equipment. Very good engineering. It's nice. I like it, but I don't have a use for wall mount, firstly. Secondly, if you wanted to wall mount, it is not something that you see on a daily basis. It is not something that you touch and use on a daily basis. It is there, you mount it one time, and that's it. You forget about it. Now, you can't even use this without activating the Sonos EQ to reduce the output. So if you wanted to wall mount, but you didn't want the EQ to kick in and reduce the volume output, what do you do? So I found an alternative for you. Now, this is from Amazon. I'm going to go through this particular solution. It is a stainless steel wall mount bracket for the Sonos Arc. It is actually made for the Sonos Arc, and it comes with the mounting hardware as well. I'm going to leave the link in the description below. It is an Amazon affiliate link, so if you click through that, it helps me by paying a small commission to me. Not from you, from Amazon. So it helps me out and you don't have to pay a cent more. Now the thing is that this guy is not that well made. I don't see, I haven't touched it, but it is stainless steel, but I don't think it's going to be as well made as this. It's very nicely powder coated. It is probably also not secure. If you look at how it works, it actually just holds the Sonos Arc at the bottom, right? It's two freestanding pieces. You can position it any distance apart that you want. I do recommend it as far out as possible, maybe somewhere along the screw threads at the back of the Sonos Arc. And at that distance, it just allows the Sonos Arc to sit on it. Now, there's no cable management to speak of. It's just two wall brackets. It is mounted by two holes in the wall. So this, you got to be very careful. You drill it in, you can't adjust it anymore. Make sure that they are both of the same height. Otherwise, when you put your Sonos Arc on top, it's going to look slanted. And if you're anything like me, I find it super irritating and I might not be able to live with that. It is not the easiest kit to level. And how it holds the Sonos Arc is that there's a lip at the edge of it, right? It follows this part of the Sonos Arc, so it doesn't slip off the front. It holds it there. It is padded with silicone. So I think from the picture, it looks like a very thin piece of silicone, but it doesn't have to be thick. It just has to hold it there. And it prevents it from slipping laterally left to right. And if you look at the part that mounts to the wall, there are two screws there. These two screws are totally exposed and unprotected. And when it goes along the back of your Sonos Arc, if you move it around any degree, it might then scratch the back of your Sonos Arc. Now, the next thing that you need to note is that when you use this kit here and you mount it, the two front curved up lip is going to show. When you sit down, if it is at eye level, you're going to see that two piece sticking out from under your Sonos Arc, trying to keep it in place. Not the prettiest solution, but this thing has something going for it. You can wall mount a Sonos Arc without activating the special feature. So the highlight of this wall mount kit is actually the absence of the special feature that the Sonos Arc original wall mount gives you. It does not activate the auto EQ. But the best feature, absolutely best feature about this solution is the price. It is $20. $20. Don't thank me. If you want it, order it, try it out for yourself. It mounts your Sonos Arc without having to activate the auto EQ. Now, not to mention the fact that this guy is actually pretty hard to find. I can't find it on Amazon. You might be able to find it at some retailer near you, but from what I understand, this thing is kind of out of stock at a lot of places around the world. That is if you can even get an Arc in the first place. What I like to do next is to show you two clips, right? It's the same exact clip as the Atmos sound test clip from Dolby Labs. I've recorded the first clip without the wall mount kit, so you can hear for yourself how it sounds like without the wall mount. The second clip, which I replayed the same clip, I recorded it with the Sonos Arc mounted using the wall mount kit. So there is a difference. If you're listening to it on a tablet or a mobile phone or even the laptop, you might not readily hear the difference. Put on a pair of headphones and you might just be able to discern. I'm going to draw your attention to the speech. The speech, when the person is talking in the video clip, you can hear that it's a lot louder and fuller when the wall mount kit is not installed. The higher frequency, I'll leave you to judge. I couldn't really tell much of a difference there. It is a little bit louder overall volume. I could be biased. So I'll leave it to you to listen to the two clips which I'm going to play now. You tell for yourself whether it makes a difference or not. If nothing, this is a great kit. It looks great to wall mount. If you don't want the auto EQ, try out my other suggestion. Now, if you like my video and you think that my videos have brought some value to you and even help you save some money, you can also consider contributing to my coffee fund. I'm going to link my Patreon QR code here. If you take your mobile phone, you scan this, it will actually lead you to my Patreon page where you can make a small contribution towards my coffee fund. Otherwise, feel free to just sit around, view my other videos, and I'll still be happy to share with you whatever I know about the Sonos Arc. I'll see you in my next video. Meanwhile, enjoy the clips.
This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sets the mood of a scene, or captures the full extent
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury. This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sets the mood of a scene,
What is this place? Come on, you guys, let's go.
or captures the full extent
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury.